are dealing with, the transition to a real virtual work environment, supporting our families as well as our organizations and many of us who are serving clients out in the profession. So thank you for joining us today to be a part of this. So what are we focused on in really these unprecedented times? Not only is this affecting our society and our economy, but our profession as well. We know that we, in most states, have been deemed to be an essential service, and I think that really highlights the importance, just really the importance of what we offer to the economy and businesses in general. So hopefully you'll agree with me on that as we go through this today. So we really are focused on the sustainability of our profession and supporting our members and as well as non-members associated with accounting services. And as an organization, the NCACPA, this really highlights the importance of enhancing and demonstrating our values to you, our members. So we will focus on what we have done and what we will do to support you, and know that always we are open to feedback and listening to your concerns and ideas, and we just look forward to the engagement that we have with all of you. One of the areas that we focused on during this last year was refreshing the vision and mission statement of the NCACPA. And I'm really pleased with the collaboration and the engagement that we had from other members around these two critical points of establishing who we are and what we provide as service to our members. So for our vision, this was refreshed to be, we really desire to be a highly valued accounting profession, advancing the success of individuals and organizations. And I think that is just such a powerful statement. For our mission, we really did a lot of self-introspection. We had a lot of feedback, and all of this came through the organized efforts of a task force of some really diverse members representing the membership and our state. So our mission is enhancing the accounting profession and the community it serves through advocacy, connections, education, and resources. And I really believe that describes the foundation of all aspects of what the NCACPA does for our members and, again, as our non-members. That was a big point of discussion, is really broadening out the lens of who we serve and how we can serve the community. So I'm sure this strategic placemat is not new to you. It should not be new. This is really the foundation of how we focus our efforts and serve the membership. So we've divided out into these 4 quadrants: the advocacy and awareness, the professional development, which tends to be the thing that most people think about with the NCCPA, is the access to good quality accessible CPE material, really focusing in on enhanced engagement in the lower left quadrant, and then as all organizations should be, focused on the governance and operational effectiveness. We also added there in the center of the strategic placemat a real focus around diversity and inclusion, really an important topic in our society today, and in all organizations, really looking introspectively as to how we look and operate, and then taking those objectives externally into how we can be more impactful to ensure that we are an inclusive profession, and that we are taking these objectives and really underline everything that we do with a foundation of diversity and inclusion and challenging ourselves. We will be digging into each of these quadrants a little bit more as we go on into the presentation to give you some highlights from where we are and what we've achieved in each of these. So with that, Sharon, I'll kick it over to you.
Thank you, Kelly. And before we dig a little deeper into the increased advocacy and awareness strategy, I would be remiss if I didn't stop and take a moment to, on behalf of all of us, Austin, the board of directors, our NCACPA team, and our entire membership, thank you for the outstanding job you did as chair this past year. And Kelly, congratulations to you. Again, I speak on behalf of everyone in saying that particularly in the last 2 months, the two of you have been so flexible and so supportive as we have made many, many transitions that were certainly unforeseen. But again, thank you and congratulations. Okay.
Thank you.
Advocacy and awareness. There's absolutely no doubt that this strategic initiative has certainly been at the heart and soul of our efforts of late. And as this slide states, it's all about providing you with timely updates on important issues and certainly advocating on your behalf, on behalf of the entire profession, as well as your association. One of the things that Kelly pointed out when we first created this strategic initiative is that the advocacy piece and the awareness piece are equally important. They're so interrelated, and you can't engage in one without the other. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we drill into the aspects of that in just a moment. Kelly has referenced the importance of our highly valued professional development strategic initiative. In the 36 years that I've been with NCACPA, I'm proud to say that our professional development program has been at the forefront of our service offerings. There's no question that we made tremendous shifts in how we both design and deliver our programs to best meet the needs of our constituents. And we'll talk a bit later in the presentation as to how we're continuing to customize what we do, particularly in light of COVID-19. Kelly, I'll punt back to you.
Yes, thank you, Sharon. So I'll pick up here with the governance and the operational effectiveness quadrant. So just want to highlight that we are really focused on the sustainability. I mentioned that earlier. And in the times that we're living in during a pandemic, that has really come to the forefront more than ever. A few years ago, we had a task force that really focused in on the governance of our organization to really guide and separate the activities of the governance of the board of directors from the operations and the management of the organization. And having worked with a lot of different organizations, as I'm sure many of you out there have, I am very proud of both our board and our management team at the NCACPA in the way that the organizations, the board and the management team operates and interfaces. Very, very effective. The teams are focused on really, as many organizations are, gathering data, really understanding our constituency, being effective with that, really asking ourselves and challenging ourselves, what is the best way to provide CPE? What is the importance? Where do the face-to-face interactions, should they play with our membership? And so I really, again, am proud of the efforts of the team and the boards in guiding through these particular areas. Moving on to the enhanced engagement, as we've talked about before, this really is the heart and soul of what we do at the NCACPA, and especially now more than ever. You know, I think about the Connect. Hopefully many of you are engaging on Connect when that was launched. There is a lot of activity and interface between our members all across the state. So it's a very diverse state from the mountains all the way out to the coast, and I think that is just a great forum to support our members. It also helps us understand what our constituency is really dealing with, so hopefully all of you are involved in that. Referenced earlier, really the foundation of diversity and inclusion as a base for all of these efforts in these quadrants. And so this last year we undertook, during Austin's year, as one of the other efforts that we undertook was really looking at diversity and inclusion and looking to to put a definition around it, and that can be really tough. So we organized a task force and got a lot of different feedback and research, consulted with professionals who really spend their careers advising companies around D&I efforts. And then the task force developed and the board approved a definition for us to adopt and integrate into our organization for the NCACPA, and I want to share that with you now. So I'll just read this because I do think it is so powerful. The association is committed to promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in its membership, leadership, staff, and business relationships. We believe every individual who impacts our organization brings a unique perspective and experience shaped by their age, color, disability, ethnic and national origin, gender, race, religion, sexual orientation, socioeconomic background, and career experience. This is really intended to be all-encompassing as we really look to define what this means for us as in our organization. The second part of this definition is this. By prioritizing and embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion, we are a richer and more effective association. By valuing and respecting individual perspectives, we increase our strength, capabilities, and adaptability, and enhance a highly valued and sustainable accounting profession. This is really an important aspect of me, and one of the reasons I have been so interested in continuing service through the NCACPA. I know many of you believe that the accounting profession has served you well. It has certainly served me well. And in the competitive landscape for talent for our future, to me, this is all important as we look to inspire people to want to join our profession and continue to support them through the life cycle of a career in accounting. So thank you for allowing us to share that this morning. Sharon?
Especially excited as we continue our diversity and inclusion efforts that the board has supported our ability to partner with some outstanding D&I consultants. First of all, Dr. Bobby Banks, CEO of Pillar Consulting. We began working with her recently. Dr. Banks met virtually with our NCACPA team on April 6th. She's currently in the process of conducting a thorough inventory of our existing D&I efforts, and will be conducting surveys with our team and with various volunteer leaders as well in the near future. Very important aspect of her work with us will be to provide benchmarks to help us assess our efforts as well as our progress. We're also pleased to be partnering with Walk West and their CEO, Donald Thompson, as Walk West will be providing us with customized member-based training in the D&I space. Okay, let's transition to the next strategic quadrant, which is, as Kelly said, the heart and soul of so much of what we do, enhanced engagement. Let's take a brief look at our current membership demographics. As you can see, the CPA quadrant represents 75% of our membership demographics as of 12/31/19. 7% in our associate category, 6% students, and 11% senior life. I want to briefly mention our associate membership category. We find that often individuals don't know that this category even exists. It's very important that we work to expand this area because supporting the entire accounting profession, as Kelly referenced earlier, is an essential aspect of our new vision and mission. And associate members are non-CPA members who have passed the exam. They're in the process of completing their experience requirement. Another possibility is that they're professionals employed in an accounting capacity. They're teaching accounting in an accredited North Carolina college, university, or community college. They're perhaps a firm or office administrator, or a former CPA who's opted to let their certificate go inactive. So again, this is an area where we're going to be focused more on in the days to come because of these very important constituents of the profession. Let's take a quick look at our membership demographics by work sector. This slide, I think, is self-explanatory. We've seen a slight decline in the education quadrant from a membership perspective. Government is holding steady. Pleased to see when you compare fiscal year 19 to fiscal year 20, again, at the end of the calendar year, a slight increase in industry as well as in the public accounting area. And speaking of engagement, and Kelly mentioned this previously, connect. We often say in NCACPA team meetings that we can no longer imagine NCACPA without Connect. It's not only such an amazing peer-to-peer professional connection, but it's also a true lifeline to our constituents in terms of you telling us what's on your mind and what you need from your association. As you can also see from the text on the slide, during the COVID-19 situation, the discussion thread it has the highest Connect post rate, second highest Connect post rate ever. And since the implementation of social distancing and some of the precautions that we're all living with right now, the usage has more than doubled first-time logins compared to this time frame last year. So we appreciate your participation. We read it. We read what you say each and every day, and it's just an amazing opportunity for us to engage in two-way communication. So again, thank you. Let's talk a little further about the all-important area of highly valued professional development. Now, I'm just going to highlight a couple of things that we have done of late. Certainly during March and April, we moved quickly to add a range of programs for our tax and industry audiences that you see noted here. A couple of free programs that we felt like were especially important during this time, and our members took advantage of what we offered, and we were so pleased about that. Certainly the Don Farmer webinar was highly attended and we believe highly appreciated, so we thank you for your support. As far as our upcoming May programs are concerned, I can't say enough about the flexibility, the planning, and the work that our committees have done along with our professional development team, and in fact our entire NCACPA team. We've had to postpone some things, cancel some things, but we've also moved very quickly to a virtual format. We're going to continue to look at these options because the most important thing is our constituent safety and making sure that we're providing the high quality programming that you deserve and expect from us. The sessions themselves have been modified in order to make sure that we're focusing on what you need during these incredible times that we're living in. I absolutely believe, and we've talked about this during our management team meetings and our staff meetings as well, that some of what we're experiencing now, if not all of it, will help us be better as we continue to deliver programming to you in a way that meets your needs. And that's what we're all about. Okay, increased advocacy and awareness. As far as the awareness piece is concerned, we've worked very hard to deliver information to you that's important and to do so in an efficient format. And our e-newsletters, we feel, have been a very important aspect of this effort. We know your time is precious, and we want to provide updates to you in a customized format. Our CPA Impact newsletter focuses predominantly on advocacy. News to know is information of a more general nature. And then we have employed video format, or a video format in a more frequent or on a more frequent basis of late. You see our open rates, our utilization rate has predominantly increased. And again, we thank you for that support. And we're going to continue to perfect our efforts in this area as best we can. Our COVID-19 Resource Center information has been highly utilized as well. Again, it's we think it's another aspect of our efforts to more efficiently deliver info to you. And we've still got work to do in this area, because I know that it's a combination of methods to communicate with you. There are days when I'm sure you feel like you're inundated and you need help with sorting what we send. And so that's something that we're paying close attention to, and we will only improve that. Connect is again mentioned here. Much of what we have talked to our legislative leaders about at the state level as well as federal level is based on Connect input. And again, we appreciate your utilization of the COVID-19 webpage. Kelly, I'm going to let you talk briefly about the COVID-19 task force that you are leading at this point.
Thank you, Sharon. And just picking up there where Sharon left off on some of our COVID-19 activities, we have formed a task force specifically to field comments and ideas and really the experiences within our state. This was born out of actually outreach from Senator Tom Tillis to Sharon and our organization, looking for that feedback. I actually am a tax professional by background, and one of the reasons I really became interested in tax is because of tax policy and tax legislation. And I think while this is looking at the COVID-19 response from Congress, it is interesting that to really drive behaviors and access funding for our economy really is coming through our tax system. And so just so proud of the fact that our organization was recognized as a real conduit of information to feed back through the impacts that this legislation is having. So we have a diverse group of individuals here that you can see on the screen. Austin and I are involved, and we come at this with both representing corporate backgrounds and public accounting. We have Jason Poole, who's very active in our state political environment and representing coming at it from the eastern part of the state. And we have Alex, who is a member of our board of directors and getting a lot of great feedback from clients around some of the provisions in the Stimulus Act. And then Rollin, former chair of our board of directors, and really with the perspective of the western part of our state. As we all know, some industries are impacted by this very differently than others. And then, of course, the illustrious Don Farmer, who everyone knows, and really has been instrumental in providing a lot of detail aspects and some of the drafting impacts of the stimulus bill, and been very interesting. We've been very impressed with the senator and his staff and their knowledge of the issues and the issues that we bring forward. Very inquisitive, and I can say that that is continuing on a bi-weekly basis for us to have these conversations. So I described to you the different experiences that we bring to this task force. We are also monitoring Connect. Sharon referenced, it's a very active thread in Connect, so please continue to bring forth issues. I know one of the issues that I've been dealing with this week are around the employee retention credit and a lot of the ambiguity surrounding that. And then again, we're also outreaching into the base, into our constituency base as well for additional feedback. So please bring that forward to any member of this group through Connect or directly to Sharon as well. So just wanted to highlight a couple of the issues that we focused on really at the federal level. And while I think most people tend to think of the NCACPA as a state organization, and primarily our advocacy efforts historically have been at the state level, and we have great relationships through the state organization, which Sharon will talk about. But this current event, this pandemic event, and the federal stimulus acts have really highlighted that our voice is important in this effort as well. So things, and we've gotten a lot of commentary around the SBA loans, specifically the Paycheck Protection Program. I know many of you, if you're serving clients or you're advising your organizations that you're a part of on this program, there have been a lot of ambiguity. It was rushed through Congress pretty fast, and I've seen, the daily FAQs that were coming out regularly as the money was starting to flow into the economy, and so I do believe that was a direct result of a lot of fluidity of feedback back through legislators, and our banking system, as well as just all of you and what you were fielding through your client base. So thank you for that. So we continue to work to gain additional guidance and clarity. Like I said, I've really focused in on the employee retention credit this week with some of my own clients. And then Senator Tillis last week asked us about to field input around additional lending opportunities out there, really thinking about that Main Street lending, who was not able to access money that really still needs money to survive this current economic climate. So hopefully that's helpful to all of you and has sparked some additional thoughts. So please bring those forward. We'll continue to look for your comments and ideas out on Connect. Sharon?
Thank you, Kelly. I'd like to briefly mention an extremely important group, our NCACPA Advocacy Advisory Council. As you can see from the slide, we have, again, diverse backgrounds with our 6 CPAs who serve on this council. It's a nonpartisan group that helps us vet and establish our legislative agenda at both the state and federal level. And as Kelly mentioned, our federal presence is certainly increasing, not only in light of COVID-19, but it's been a path that we've been, or a trajectory that we've been on, especially over the last several months. This group is also responsible for monitoring our activities with respect to our Political Action Committee, and it's chaired by Jason Poole, partner with TRP Sumner in Fayetteville, who Kelly mentioned previously has an important place in terms of our state-based political activity, and he's highly informed, and we appreciate his leadership. If any of you have an interest in serving on this council, please let me know. Your input would certainly only make us better. So thank you in advance for your interest. Okay, state issues. A lot to say here, so bear with me. We've continued to work with the North Carolina General Assembly in terms of getting the repeal of the interest requirements on tax payments after April 15th. I have said repeatedly that we remain confident that this legislation will come to fruition, and it was included in both House and Senate bills, and it does remain supported by the leadership. House and Senate leaders met last evening trying to reach a compromise on the coronavirus relief legislation in order to get a final measure approved. The sticking points that remain involve the discrepancies, if you will, between the House's $1.7 billion plan and the Senate's $1.2 billion plan. Late yesterday afternoon, House legislators were sent home. They initially planned to have a session today, but late Thursday night, the timeline was delayed until Saturday. So that's where we stand at this moment. I spoke with our lobbyist at 7 a.m., and that's where we are. But again, we remain very optimistic about the initiatives that we have been in support of. We also believe there should be no expectation of extensions going beyond July 15th, as the legislature has made it clear that they have to be able to assess our state's financial status in order to deal with necessary state budget matters. The General Assembly will announce a date when they'll return upon their adjournment of this short session. Several Senate members have suggested coming back in several weeks to take up additional measures rather than waiting until the state revenues are determined later in the summer. I can't leave this topic without thanking our members for the legislative outreach that you've engaged in. We've seen it at a level that we've never experienced before, and you may rest assured that it absolutely makes a difference. Another area we focused on involved business property tax filing extensions. Our leaders are currently telling us that they feel this should remain a county-by-county decision. And again, with the help of our members, a significant number of North Carolina counties have already granted these extensions, moving them to July 15th. We continue our work with the North Carolina Department of Revenue. That relationship, I can't even begin to tell you how essential it is for it to remain healthy, and it has to operate in a spirit of two-way communication. We've successfully advocated for the tax filing date due extensions. I can't say enough about the willingness of the Revenue Department to listen to us and to respond. And I'm not saying anything that I haven't said to them. We sometimes wish that it would happen a little faster, but they also do a really good job of letting me know and letting us know what some of their issues are, and they move as promptly as they say they can. But the main thing I want to say here again is how much I appreciate the fact that we go back and forth in terms of dialogue. We continue to work on the POA issue. They're working right now on implementing a new mainframe that will move this along, and we will see this come to fruition so that information can be disseminated appropriately to a taxpayer's POA. We're a little bit disappointed in terms of where we stand with our financial literacy work. The goal has always been to involve our NCACPA members and training teachers who will lead this mandated course that's going to be required for graduation. However, continuing conversations with legislators and DPI will be very important in terms of knowing exactly what next steps are in light of COVID-19.
Sharon, I will pick it up here and make the ask of everyone. We've just shared with you both our federal and state efforts. This is one of the primary efforts of our organization, is really to advocate on your behalf, support the profession and our clients for the impacts that we know can really make a difference. So we have a fundraising goal of $50,000 by September the 30th. We've achieved just a little under half of that with $20,000 as of today. And as Sharon noted, we have a voice in all of this. There's a need to have access to the appropriate legislators, and the PAC really does allow us to do that. It really supports the fact that our voice matters. As we have noted, we have a lot of them coming to us for input, and I really do believe that's a reflection of the integrity of our profession. And we ask that you all please just support us in these efforts so that we can continue to make a difference for you.
Thank you, Kelly. Let me briefly mention another very strong advocacy-based area for our association involves our work to recommend individuals to the governor for North Carolina State Board appointments. This is a 7-person board comprised of 5 CPA members and 2 public or non-CPA members. And this year's board officers are newly elected President Michael Massey, Vice President Barton Baldwin, and Secretary Treasurer Gary Massey. As many of you know, we work closely with the State Board on a variety of issues, often in a joint task force arrangement. We've done so with respect to State Board CPE rules, and we now have a joint task force focused on succession planning. In terms of appointments, it's a 6/30 timeline in terms of when those terms, State Board terms, expire. There will be no appointments available. There'll be no terms vacated at the end of this 6/30 year end, so to speak, but there will be vacancies on the State Board as of 6/30/2021. So if any of you have interest or questions with respect to State Board participation, I'd be happy to talk with you, because it's certainly a very important relationship that this organization has with theirs. The CPA exam. Many of you know that Prometric will resume testing in the U.S. as of today. Social distancing regulations will absolutely be enforced. Prometric is still in the process of identifying which centers are opening. They're also in the process of either reconfirming scheduled appointments or sitting for the exam or canceling those appointments because of the impact of social distancing guidelines. And I know this has been a difficult situation for individuals in the process of sitting for the exam. I was on a call with the MAC Advisory Board of NC State this past week, and Scott Showalter, our immediate past chair, was talking about some of the complexities of this situation. So our North Carolina State Board has done a great job of keeping us informed about what's going on in this area, so my thanks to them. Speaking of the State Board, a few stats here that were discussed at the most recent State Board meeting, that the State Board staff does an outstanding job of providing demographic information. So I'll let you take a look at this. There's some interesting information here. There's some concerning information here that I think will be a nice segue in terms of what Kelly's going to be talking about regarding the professional landscape. The higher number of reciprocal license applications tells us that people are continuing to move into North Carolina, which is a positive area for sure. So with that, Kelly will talk about some of the changes in the profession that we're seeing right now that are front and center and certainly important.
Thank you, Sharon. And Sharon, please help me out with these last slides. And this will really be the end of our presentation with you today, but such an important element of what's happening in our profession today. As Sharon noted on that last slide, some really interesting things that are happening in the number of people that are applying to take the CPA exam, sitting for the CPA exam. I know I have interactions with many of our accounting programs across the state, and enrollment in the accounting programs is significantly down. And so wisely, the AICPA and NASPA have initiated a joint effort to really address this. What is happening? I know a lot of the feedback that I get from the accounting programs is that we have some salary compression. So we're competing for students in other academic pursuits in the STEM fields, the computer science and financial analytics and other pursuits like that. So we really want to modernize and address some of the issues that we're facing so that we can increase the pool and really attract the right talent into our profession. So as part of that, the CPA Evolution, I know this is not news to anyone, has really been engaging with lots of different aspects in the profession, including young CPA councils. Each of the state societies has had quite a voice in this. I know we've had feedback directly to the AICPA relative to some of the proposals that have been submitted around this. And there's been change since this started, where they started with the proposal and what we're going to show to you today. Again, not news to many of you. There's certainly no shortage of opinions about what the right direction is for the profession to go on. So on the next slide, what I want to share with you, and this is really sort of a proposed licensure model for the CPA. As we all know, even in the course of my 28 years of being a CPA, you know, this has changed significantly. That the exam today doesn't look like it did. The requirements today don't look like they did when many of us started in the profession. So through the course of a lot of that collaboration and input, the current proposal on the table is to establish really a core foundation of accounting skills across audit, tax. The real debatable topic in all of this is where does technology fit into this for us, and what does it look like in our future? And so I think there's broad agreement across our profession that a foundational level of technology skills is really important. Technology interfaces just about everything we do, and when we think about the sustainability of our profession, I do believe this is rightly centered in the core of this box. From there, looking out at three different areas that you can specialize in, really the tax compliance and planning, business reporting, and then information systems. And the intent here is to, because of all of the volume of information in each of these three sort of focus areas, being able to be more skilled in one of the three areas or more knowledgeable in one of the three areas is intended to make us more relevant, which I do believe this supports, but also to be more attractive to a broader group of professionals and make that CPA exam maybe not quite so daunting, maybe a little more interesting as people consider pursuing that licensure opportunity. So again, just a representation here of the evolution of what we're looking at. So a strong core, as I noted, deeper knowledge in one of the three primary disciplines. It's intended to be adaptive and flexible. And at one point, they were focused on potential categories of CPA licenses, and I think there was quite a bit of feedback around that. And so I think this one CPA license concept really has held true for many years, and I think that's an important aspect to continue forward. And then continuing to enhance our public protection. Sharon, any comments that you would add to the CPA Evolution? You've obviously been involved from the beginning on this.
I think you've covered it very well. I think the area of this that is so important to emphasize is that feedback piece, and we've encouraged our members, our constituents, all along the way to provide feedback. And as you mentioned, Kelly, our board has been very engaged in the process, and I have seen differences as the models have continued to evolve. So, I think you're right on point.
Excellent. So just continuing on here on the CPA Evolution topic, will the disciplines change hiring behaviors? I myself am involved in a lot of hiring and consideration of how do we serve our client base? What do corporate organizations need as an effective accounting organization in the future? And one of the primary underlying principles of that has been that balance of accounting, some of that, the 150-hour requirement. How does a master's and the accessibility of being able to afford and achieve a master's what does that do for us in our profession? So, you know, really the point here is that candidates would not be limited to working in the discipline chosen for the exam purpose. So we continue to want to have a lot of flexibility with this, but it is intended, and in my view, does support being more relevant and attracting more people into our profession, which I believe is really a critical element here. And so how might the exam change? And so I think that's always on everybody's mind is how does the exam change? So as we noted, you would pass the core sections. You would then choose a specialty section to really focus in. And the discipline passed, again, will not differentiate the license granted. So there's no intention that there's going to be any designation as a part of that. But really just more in terms of supporting individuals in their areas of interest. So what's next? So here's a timeline of where we're going into the fall of 2020 this year. And so just looking ahead, no indication that our current situation will delay any of this, but really begin the statute and rule changes needed, begin to gather that information and carry it forward. And then beyond 2020, with a goal of really having this fully implemented in January of 2024, it seems like a far way off at this point. There is a lot to do. This also is sort of separate and apart from continuing updates to the exam content. So don't be confused by that. That will continue on as you continue to make it relevant. Obviously, we've got some new legislation for people to be aware of as it relates to the tax sections. So with that, Sharon, we're kind of coming down to the end here. So I'm going to turn it back over to you to talk about the pipeline.
Thank you, Kelly. The pipeline is certainly an aspect of our NCACPA efforts in terms of recruitment and retention that we're highly engaged in. And first and foremost, our NCACPA Foundation, our board, and our NCACPA liaisons working with the foundation have accomplished incredible things. I have to say that twice in the last year. And again, their efforts are so foundational with respect to our pipeline efforts. So you see this slide, I think, is very descriptive. There's been a lot of work on creating an endowment of $3 million to enable us to have a sustainable funding source. Been work on the Legacy Scholars Program, and we've been successful in soliciting our first Legacy Scholar donor. Special shout out to former past NCACPA Chair Elwood Walker. We've appreciated his support more than we can begin to say. We've had significant contribution participation from at 100% level from our foundation board members, our campaign champions, as well as our NCACPA board. And we appreciate this so very much. And the collaboration with the consulting firm that we've worked with has taken us to new heights. So again, we're very pleased with the progress made. The most important thing I want to point out is what's happened from a scholarship donation standpoint. In December of 2019, as you can see here, $150,500 worth of scholarships donated to 75 students from 24 separate colleges and universities in North Carolina. You also see the diversity represented in terms of scholarship donations. And I am incredibly proud of the fact that 92% of each dollar donated to the foundation goes directly to scholarships. So again, I can't thank the foundation board enough, along again with the staff who have been involved in this initiative from start to finish. So it will continue to grow, and we're just we're so excited about the foundation.
So Sharon, I want us to end where we started. We are very focused on the sustainability of our profession, this organization, and supporting and engaging with all of you, our membership. So I look forward to serving you as chair. I want to thank Austin again for a great year and a lot of accomplishments, and please continue to let us know how we can serve you better, and look forward to being with everyone face-to-face again soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Kelly, I would just add to that we're going to remain highly focused on our awareness aspect of our strategic initiatives, and communication. Effective communication only happens in a two-way format. So we will continue to listen, but please tell us what's on your mind. So thank you everyone for being with us today.
Great. Thank you so much. That is all the time that we do have for today. A big thank you again to Sharon, Kelly, and Austin for sharing their presentation with us this morning. This does conclude today's presentation. To submit credit, please click on the Credit Submission tab. Once finished, you may simply exit out of your browser window. And we all hope you have a great rest of your day.